What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talks Rubbish, and today I'm back with another AEW Dynamite review for the Homecoming show. This is a bit of an announcement video as well. Hopefully, well not hopefully, but probably with life getting more back to normal, this will be the last AEW Dynamite review for a while, but I'll keep you guys posted. So let's get into it. With the first thing we kicked off on this week's show was the Labor of Jericho, with Jericho facing Juventud Guerrero in a match where Chris Jericho had to win with a top rope move to basically advance to get MJF in the future. Essentially, because I'm trying to make these reviews shorter, I enjoyed this match and Jericho would win with a top rope Judas effect after a pinfall. Very well done, in my opinion. There was some botchy moments at the start of the match, maybe, but overall, I enjoyed it. And yeah, so and then after the match, we saw MJF and Wardlow attack Chris Jericho and Juventud Guerrero to basically set up that next week Wardlow will be facing Chris Jericho with MJF as either the special guest ref or a special guest enforcer. I'm not too sure which one because commentary seemed quite conflicted on this at the present time, but I'm sure we'll find out next week, so that'll be fun. We then had a backstage segment with the Lucha Bros backstage, and essentially I know there was something on Dark that I haven't seen, so maybe this played into that, but we saw them basically being interviewed and saying, Pac's our family, we won't turn our back on him. And Andrade comes out with Chavo Guerrero and like his assistant and says, I buy you limos, you can have champagne, lobster, steak if you come work for me. What do you get if you work for Pac? And it's ended by them saying, he's our family again. And then we had another backstage segment where essentially Hangman Page blames himself for losing against Kenny Omega and the Elite last week for the Dark Order. So essentially similar to how he left the Elite, was it 2 years ago or last year? He basically said, we need to go our separate ways, and he left. So at that point, so we will see what happens later in the night with that story, because there's more to come. We would then see Andrade Garcia, I think that's his name, I can't remember his name, and 2.0 versus Darby Allin, Mox and Eddie Kingston. John Moxley and Eddie Kingston. For me, this was probably the weakest point of the night because it seemed very thrown together and very sort of, we need to get these three big names on the card. Let them just beat these three people. But overall, it was a good match. Eddie Kingston was isolated for a lot of it. Darby Allin had a good moment with coffin drops and dives. We would then see a Sting have a stare down with the 2.0 team, and Darby dive onto them. Mox would hit the paradigm shift, then Darby would hit the coffin drop, and Mox, Darby, and Kingston won. Like I say, fun enough, not really very unexpected, but I enjoyed it. We then saw a Ricky Starks hype package, basically recapping what happened last week at the celebration, where essentially he said that this is just the beginning, and we had Brian Cage's voice interluded, basically saying, I'm gonna get you, and things like that. So yeah, again, a good way to progress the story without seeing them too much on TV. We then had the Elite backstage throwing a basketball around and bragging about their victory last week. They would chuck a basketball in and say, eliminate, like a member of the Dark Order. Eliminate another member. And then finally, they would say Hangman Page was eliminated and he will never get a shot. Once again, this progressed with an in-ring segment later in the night, so we will get to that when we get to that. We then had Christian versus The Blade. And yeah, again, this was fun, but not something I was overly invested in. Christian would win with a spear after The Blade went for the brass knucks again. And it was announced that Christian is now number one contender for Kenny Omega's title. So are we going back to that program? I hope so, but we shall see. We then had a recap / hype package for FTR versus Santana and Ortiz. And again, I enjoyed this. Fun enough. And then eventually I think we're going to get a rematch down the line when Cash is healed. Yeah. We then saw Britt Baker in the ring basically saying that next week we're going to be in her hometown and next week is the debut of Rampage. So we will see. And then basically Red Velvet comes out and calls out Britt for a title match, saying that she's improved her win-loss record. And one funny moment that I really enjoyed was Red Velvet going, because Britt Baker's wearing red. Red is really not your colour. And then she gets in Britt's face, and finally Britt relents and says, you can have a match, but it will be in my hometown on the first episode of Rampage. So that's a big match for Rampage. Yeah. We then had, which was probably my favourite segment of the night, which is Hangman Page basically comes out to address breaking up with the Dark Order earlier in the night, and the Elite interrupt him. This is because Tony Schiavone was conducting this one as well. This seems to be a common theme at the moment. Tony Schiavone interviews get interrupted. So, yeah, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this because the Elite interrupted him, basically called him names, called him a failure, and then eventually would beat him down. The Dark Order came out, but you had Evil Uno, you had John Silver, and some of the other members wanting to help Hangman, but Evil Uno was no, holding them all back, saying this is not what he wants, this is not what he wants, as in for them to help him. So I'm liking where this story's progressing. And then eventually the Elite Hunter, Frankie Kazarian, comes down, he helps fend them off for a little while, but then he is beaten down and the Elite stand tall. Yeah, fun segment. Good enough. We then had probably my favourite match of the night when TNT champion Miro took on Lee Johnson, and essentially this match wasn't a squash, but it was a match to show that Miro's superior. I'll put it that way. So we saw a lot of power moves. We saw Johnson hitting some dives, and eventually a dive would go wrong. He'd hit the barricade. In the ring, Miro would hit a choke slam, lock on game over, and win. So yeah, I enjoyed this. Overall, I feel like they're building Miro very well, and I'm excited to see who will take the title off him or where we go from here. We then had a women's match, Leila Hirsch versus the Bunny, and the winner will face the NWA Women's Champion at their upcoming event. So yeah, fun. Again, Leila Hirsch won with the cross arm breaker after targeting Bunny's arm throughout the match. Yeah, fun. As I say, I didn't see too much of this match because my Fight TV went funny, but I enjoyed it. We then had our main event, which was Malachi Black versus Cody Rhodes. Enjoyed this. Essentially, the match started out with Malachi hitting some knees, Cody and then targeting Cody's leg because he was in his promos up to the match, he has said Cody's a horse that needs to be put down, and when a horse needs to be put down is normally when their legs are broken. So I enjoyed that metaphor and how Cody, and that eventually Cody was on the top rope, got kicked off the top rope into the timekeeper's table. Malachi put him back in the ring. I'm going to call it a black mass because I'm not too sure what they're calling it in AEW. A black mass, 1, 2, 3, after putting his foot on Cody for a pinfall. Yeah, I feel like it's made a new star. However, there is something we need to talk about really quickly. Cody then cut a promo basically saying, as Malachi's left the ring, Cody's helped up, and he cuts a promo basically saying, maybe it's time to retire, maybe it's this, thank you for everything Daly's Place, because they're back in Daly's Place, Jacksonville, for what they're hoping will be the last time for a while. I know this was to set up him taking time off for the Go Big show, but I felt like it was unnecessary. But overall, really enjoyed this Dynamite, guys. Like I say, this will probably be the last review for a while due to life getting back to normal and not always having time on a Thursday to review it. But if you're open to seeing reviews later in the week, maybe a Friday night or a Saturday night, let me know. And I shall see you in the next one. Bye. Bye.